Well, good morning from old Route 66 in Grants, New Mexico. We're back on the Mother Road where, to my surprise, I found an old Route 66 motel being restored to its former glory. Built in the 1950s, this was once the Lariat Lodge here in Grants, New Mexico. Now it's restored as the Southwest Motel, and the new owners have done a heck of a job, not just fixing it up to be nice and newly clean, as the sign says, but speaking of signs, have added the most glorious thing you can find in a Route 66 motel. An epic neon sign, which, as cool as it looks by day, to my delight, lit up the whole parking lot at night. Look at that freaking neon glow. Absolutely gorgeous. When I walked in last night, I was pleased to find a microwave and a fridge, a big king-size bed, everything cleaned up and tidy. Still very much a mom and pop place, right? Still a retro motel, but a very good experience. I feel pretty well rested now. What more can you ask for? And ready to explore a little bit of Route 66. Actually, dude, before I go any farther down old Route 66 in Grants, I must say, in addition to the big neon sign over here, it was pretty cool that this lit up with those kind of revolving light bulbs. And right across the street from the Southwest Motel is one of the most famous neon signs on Route 66 in Grants, the Sands Motel sign. And I was pleasantly surprised last night, after I was coming back from a little Walmart excursion, get some gluten-free chicken nuggets, to see that although the rest of the sign still doesn't light up, the neon arrow on here is fixed and does actually blink, pointing you up the famous half block to the Sands Motel. It reminded me of every old cartoon I've ever seen, where like somebody from the country comes into the city and there's all the flashing neon. That was one big arrow, dude. That definitely got my attention last night. And although it doesn't give off the friendliest vibes in the world, the Sands Motel still exists, by the way. It's still open for business. It'd be pretty incredible if they got that whole neon sign restored. Dude, it's so impressive when any old Route 66 motel get saved like that by new owners who actually care, make the place nice and decent to sleep in, especially here in Grants, because as you can see, a lot of the old motels have bitten the dust. First, they don't get the traffic, so they become discount motels. You can kind of see on that sign right there, $19.99 was the last price at the Desert Sun. Then they eventually close up. I'm sure the owners are hoping that they could sell at some point, but people start creeping in, breaking glass, going inside, and then people set fires in them. It's the same old song and dance all up and down the old route. I mean, they definitely underline the sort of time travel element of Route 66, right? That you're out traveling, looking at something that is past its prime, past its heyday. You see abandoned motels and former restaurants repurposed as storage shed selling facilities. But at the same time, being out here celebrating 100 years of Route 66 because we're in the centennial year, it is just a little bit heartbreaking when you realize, you know, that these places aren't going to stand forever, even the abandoned ones. And without new people coming along, refreshing and restoring the route, there wouldn't be any point traveling historic Route 66 at all. Kind of amazing traveling around out here, because coming from Southern California, you wouldn't find a place like this. It would definitely be inhabited and burned down a lot faster. And then fenced up, there'd be cameras everywhere. You would never get to peek through the windows at an old cafe or restaurant or lobby. This one here is kind of crazy because it still has that Greyhound stop sign on it. So at one point, the bus was stopping over here, and look at the pool area. Just imagine families in the 70s or 60s or even in the 50s, I don't know how old this place is, coming by here and the kids getting all excited, swimming in the pool. But nobody's out here showing mom and dad that they can do a cannonball anymore, that's for sure. And there's that fire damage I'm talking about, right? People creep in there, they camp out in there, or teenagers party in there. They light the place on fire, and that's the end of it. I don't think anyone will ever stay in the historic Route 66 motel ever again. Now, Grants isn't the biggest place in the world, but luckily it does still have quite a lot of life in it out here in New Mexico. Started out as a railroad town back in the 1880s, and there are still quite a lot of buildings here that were built for the railroad, although most of them have been heavily modified when Grants became a highway town with Route 66. And luckily for Grants, unlike a lot of towns that were solely built around highway commerce, in the 1950s it became a mining town when a massive uranium deposit was located nearby. And so Grants kind of became a uranium mining hub until the 1980s, which kind of kept the town's economy cruising along a lot longer than some other Route 66 towns. In addition to the fact that the interstate is located not too far away, it didn't bypass it at a very far distance, and there are some beautiful national parks and national monuments nearby, so it does still get a trickle of tourists, to say nothing, obviously, of the people traveling Route 66 66 out here in 2026. Still, for all of its advantages, it does still suffer from that small American highway town thing where the heyday of mom and pop taking the kids out on the American road trip is kind of withered. So you get this cool mix of sort of abandoned stuff and faded former Route 66 glory and modern town. Ah, dude, check out that old Pizza Hut right there. Plenty of space in that bad boy. Kind of going east to west here towards downtown Grants, New Mexico, and look at this thing. Look at that beautiful neon marquee up there above this theater. Yay, Grants, New Mexico, yay, all you can eat, yay! You'll see the other one in a minute, but it always impressed me that Grants was so big, so populous back in the day that it actually had 2 theaters in town, although I think this one, the West, it's got the coolest signage. Look at that, Masters of the Universe playing in there. Talk about time travel. As we travel about town, I am thinking like, man, how cool was this when pretty much every business had an epic neon sign all up and down this strip, but this particular neon sign, the famous Roaring 20 sign in Grants, unless I'm totally misremembering, started its life in Albuquerque for Vina's Roaring 20s nightclub, and then when that business closed down, it was later moved over here to Grants sometime in the 60s or 70s, if I remember correctly, placed out in front of a local businessman's dance hall and cafe. But as you can see, this has served many purposes out here over the years. You can read all kinds of ghost lettering on there: bar, lounge, packaged liquors, drive up. I know the original building that it sat in front of in Grants was demolished sometime around 2014-15, and then I believe so that the very famous sign amongst Route 66 travelers in particular wouldn't leave town. I think the city of Grants actually purchased this so that it can remain out here along old Route 66 into infinity, as far as I know. Look at that, speakeasy, restaurant, grill, packaged liquors, drive-up window. This sign has seen a lot of life. And that's the thing, a lot of old hotel neon has survived into the 21st century. But you gotta remember, not only were roadside motels popular back in the heyday, but so were roadside bars, lounges, clubs. Previous generations of Americans were a lot more social in their drinking and drank a lot more often. So a lot of the old neon that's disappeared would have been for restaurants, lounges, and bars like this one right here. And you can always tell the towns that grew up mainly in the 1920s and afterwards, because they're a lot less walkable than the old Courthouse Square Railroad style towns. I actually bring that up because I just fast forwarded myself to the other side of town. I didn't want to forget the other old theater in town, the Lux out here, which still has its neon sign up above the marquee. Although I have no idea what the inside is looking like these days, just from standing out here beneath the marquee. I have a feeling it's probably not in as good a shape as the other one that's still showing movies. This theater actually opened up in 1937 as a movie theater. So people would have been able to come out here and watch Gone with the Wind or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs right on the side of old 66. I believe it stayed open all the way through the uranium boom years. But look at this, across the street is the reason that I had to come down here, is while we were on the subject of bars and diners and their old neon signs, look at this one, the Hollywood Diner out here across from the Lux Theater, basically now restored out here purposefully as a photo op for Route 66 travelers. This is a survivor. It's underneath the sort of strange siding cladding the outside of the building from its later years. This is a prefabricated Valentine diner that was sort of bricked in and heavily expanded later on. These were prefabricated little diners you could put on the back of one truck bed. And they shipped these all over the country during the heyday of the American highway. It's sort of like the equivalent to today's food truck, right? It's one thing you could make one big investment and kind of have a ready-to-run diner operation. And this one is dates all the way back, I think, to the 1950s, when it was placed across the street from the Lux Theater by a Greek immigrant. And according to legend, it got its name because movie stars filming westerns in the area would come and eat here. Although between you and me, everywhere in the West, in every town in New Mexico, Oklahoma, anywhere with those great open western landscapes, you hear that same sort of legend, especially in New Mexico. You gotta take those legends at a discount, because if you listen to every single one, then every business along Route 66 in New Mexico used to be crawling with celebrities. Anyway, as you can imagine, there are tons and tons of old roadside related buildings left to uncover here in Grants. We can't go through every every single one of them today. But at least we had time to take a gander at some of my favorites. I was just reading an article last night about a kind of older movie theater in a small town that started showing old movies instead of just, you know, new current releases. They actually started making more money than they do with showing current releases, something that they and the author of the article were so surprised at. I'm like, yeah, duh. First of all, old movies are better, and that's what you want to see in an old movie theater, right? Something new, even I'll just wait for it to come streaming, usually. But it just goes along with the same thing I think every time I see one of these old theaters in a small American town. I think, dang, what if they just refurbished that a little bit, started showing old movies in there, right? People would come from miles around to watch Gone with the Wind in there, or whatever, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Star Wars, something classic. Anyway, let me flip a U-turn here and head back towards the sort of downtown core. One thing that's very cool about Grants, New Mexico is that in the last 10 years or so, they have become very friendly towards Route 66 travelers, right? Very accommodating. And they were actually one of, if not the first town that I know of anyways, to add something that has now become quite common along Route 66, the sick drive-through shield photo op. Again, I don't know if it was the first one ever placed along the old Mother Road, but it was the first one that I was aware of, particularly the first one that not only could you roll your car up underneath it for a sweet photo opportunity, but it was also lit up at night with neon. I brought my own car out here just at sunset last night, parked it under the arch to enjoy the glorious neon, but I have to tell you, as cool as it was and as impressive as it was, parking it in front of the freaking sign at the motel kind of blew it away. At least in terms of sheer neonness. I think it's mostly because this light pole right here blasts too much white light over it, but it's still super fun, super awesome. It's become a famous local attraction, a reason for people to stop right out here, right in front of Grant City Hall, as a matter of fact. Where in addition to some other interesting local buildings and murals, they've got a park repurposing old satellite dishes to kind of showcase Native American pottery styles, and a very atomic looking fountain, probably paying tribute. You see that up there? Looks like a little bit of an atom going on, probably paying tribute to the uranium mining in the area, as well as a caboose. And there's nothing I love more than a good caboose. Nice. But this is probably the main attraction in the town, right across from the world famous caboose, right next door to the much smaller Cibola County History Museum, which I've never been inside and seems closed today, is the New Mexico Mining Museum, which is all dedicated to uranium mining in this area. It's been about 10 years since I've been inside, but I will never forget going down an elevator in that building. And spoiler alert, when the doors open, you are in a uranium mine. It's been nearly 10 years and cost me my entire family fortune, but I'm ready to go back. But it kind of looks like the Super Friends building, doesn't it? The Hall of Justice? Just a little, is it just me? All right. Dude, and then on the other side of the building, look at this. There's a huge uranium mining head frame parked out in front of the museum with an absolutely gargantuan uranium ore bucket sitting down here. And then of course they've got they got the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom style ore cart. Dude, this thing is massive. You could boil a ton of witches in that thing. Another even bigger ore cart sitting out here, some kind of mining tractor for down in the depths. Pretty good collection of stuff to see for free before you even step inside. And I didn't even notice this. Look at that. The park across the way is separated by a little river. There's a little staircase to climb down there. Not really uranium related, but it's cute. All right, if the museum is open, I'm going back inside, finally. Ooh, man. Hi. Look at the size of this place. This just reminds me of the Hall of Justice from Super Friends. It's like Batman and Superman are gonna hang out in here and do some uranium mining. 5 feet inside the door and I already see some uranium. Sweet. Look at that little specimen right there. You don't sell uranium specimens in here today, do you? Okay, finally. I'm back. And of course they start with the fossils. They start with the indigenous peoples of the area, which I am interested in. There's also some very smooth jazz saxophone going on in here. Oh, look at this. Ancestral Puebloan toys, little miniature pots. Always impressed me the way they were able to build houses out here. And of course, quickly, we are straight in to the mining history. And this is giving you information about all kinds of different mines out here that are still sitting out there, abandoned. All these uranium mines abandoned out in the wilderness in the local area. And the way they were a boon to the local economy. It's been pretty exciting coming out here and digging up the atomic power of the future, thinking about the Jetsons and the way the world was going to change and that you're part of it. You got your hard hat on, your lunchbox, your handy dandy Geiger counter. I must admit, I kind of breezed through that part of the museum very quickly because this is the part I was dying to see again. Can't wait to descend back in to the replica uranium mine. But before I do, though, I'm going to push video number 6 and watch a film about uranium. I invite you to tour this mine located below. Dude, I learned a few things, but the main thing I learned is that these dudes were down there, especially in the mills that were processing the uranium, without any hazmat suits on, or radiation suits, or masks, or sometimes even gloves. Oh, all right. Into the elevator. Whoa. And we'll get to press M for mine. We're descending under the earth. Oh, and look at this. We're back. It's been so long. I've yearned for the mines. Dude, look at this right at the bottom. That is awesome and very loud. I'm already deaf and I just got to the mine. It's a hazardous place to work. I love that they have all this equipment in here and it doesn't look super old like going into an old gold or silver mine, right? These mines started in the 1950s and ran up, according to the video I just watched, until 1985 when it became less than profitable to produce uranium in this area. I just noticed this big wooden door over here. Ooh, I guess this is the blasting station. This is where the uranium miners used to hang out, right? Have their lunch. Oh yeah, there it says lunchroom right on the wall. I don't know what the box of light bulbs is for. Look at this. They got cleaning stations. You have your keys on the hook so they know when all the men are out so they can do their blasting over here. Oh, look at that right there. That is a legit real poster. Don't be buried alive. Well, I don't intend to be. And then I saw in the video there was all this yellow tubing because they would pump fresh air down into the mine. Apparently the number one way you would succumb to radiation exposure was to breathe it in. But like I said, in those videos, I didn't see those guys wearing any of this stuff. They were just hanging out there with a yellow cake. What is this back here? Ooh, another entrance to the mine. Those are those big air ventilation tubes I was telling you about. I think we might be able to come into this section a little later on, so it's a little bit of a shortcut right here.
Hi, see a red button. Whoa! I've worked in the uranium mines for over 30 years. The room you have just entered is a typical lunchroom. Lunch was eaten here with the food often warmed in the gray metal box next to the entrance door. This box, which originally contained electrical equipment, was converted to a warming chamber with the use of floodlight bulbs. It was affectionately called the miner's microwave. Self-rescue.
It's a long spiel. I've learned a lot from the spiel. I wouldn't have known about the miner's microwave.
Also provided with safety glasses.
Don't tell Terry. I think I'm gonna.
Rubber boots and hearing.
I think I've heard enough. Sorry, Terry. I don't yearn for the lunchroom. I yearn for the mine. Dude, how freaking sick is this? Oh, they got one of those tubes actually pumping air down into here for us to breathe. I appreciate that. Apparently you can have like 5 tons of ore in each one of these cars, and for every 2,000 pounds you would only get 4 pounds of uranium. Dude, I feel like Gollum down here. I feel like I snuck into Gollum's palace. That's a lot of digging and blasting and crushing to get just a little bit of the rich stuff.
It's my precious uranium.
Oh dude, I'm not falling for the red button again. I don't have time. Oh, here you have one of those shafts where they'd be dumping the ore down into the cars parked in another shaft below. Pretty complicated, the kind of 3D map you'd have to have in your head of the mine and how it all worked. Dude, when I do a little bit of sanding on the tiki masks that I carve, and I don't wear my mask, I'm like coughing up sawdust, you know? I could only imagine what it was like for those dudes in the 1950s, grinding up sandstone with uranium in it who didn't feel like using their masks. Look at this, another little shaft right here. It's pretty cool seeing this because it's very, very similar. I mean, almost identical to the way that old gold and silver mines from the 1800s would have looked. Look at that ladder going up into the darkness up there, up into the gift shop. And yet it's like a little more squared off, a little more Home Depot looking, right? Because it's 100 years later. We don't really get a chance to go into a lot of modern mines, right? Most of the mines, I think, the average tourist that travels around gets to see is like an old little piece of an old gold mine or something. So seeing this is pretty amazing. The steel cables, all the tubing for like power and lighting. And of course the exit sign. Although I gotta imagine modern mines probably do have exit signs in them, so the miners don't get confused. Oh, this is a veritable labyrinth of drifts and passageways in here. This is cool. A bunch of red buttons, a bunch of funky little dead ends in here. I genuinely do feel like I'm in a mine. I no longer feel like I'm in the basement of a museum. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's quite spooky down here. A lot of twists and turns and little dead ends. I'm starting to get the miner's anxiety. Look at this over here. I don't know what the heck an open grizzly is, but some kind of lift, some kind of cable system, right? It's pretty amazing. Oh, this tunnel is leading us back to the repair shop, which backs up onto the lunchroom. So we've kind of come back to the beginning of the labyrinth here. I almost just want to cheat and go straight back for the elevator, but I'm not going to take the coward's way out. I'm thinking maybe it feels extra spooky because I don't have any purpose, right? I'm not doing anything but peeking in on here like a little voyeur. Maybe I should get to work. After all, they got picks and shovels sitting here waiting for me. Who are we kidding? I don't have the strength to be a pick and shovel man. But I think in time I could be quite handy on the air-powered drills. Ooh, or look at this. This is where they would use those drills to drill a 6-foot hole back in there and then use one of these long sticks that you see here, one of Donatello's staffs, to jam the stick of dynamite way back in the hole. I could do that job. I like sticking stuff in holes. Plus, it sounds like a real blast. It's all fun and games until you realize you're by yourself in a creepy museum, mine, basement place. I can't think. There's so many twists and turns. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Get your power drilling on. It's really awesome seeing all this original equipment down here. And when the floor turns to dirt and like rock down here instead of concrete, I actually do start getting a little claustrophobic because I've been in real mines before and they've done an amazing job of simulating that same feeling. Although the mines I've been in typically don't have fire sprinklers in them, and they've spray painted a little bit of a dark color on the walls to represent the uranium-rich sections of the mine. Definitely not what you think of when you think of your classic Route 66 attraction, but yes, it's very realistic and very scary. I'm not leaving. People always ask me if I get creeped out in old roadside motels by myself or peeking into abandoned buildings on Route 66 or just being along the highway in the middle of the night by myself. But I gotta be honest with you, not really. I'm far more creeped out by this mine. I gotta get out of here, dude. I gotta get out. Okay, I was about to walk out that door, but this says emergency escape route. And I don't think this is actually the exit. I think that's literally an emergency exit for the mine. So I guess what we were supposed to do is walk in a loop over here, although I'm now very lost and confused, and make our way back through the lunchroom and back to the elevator. I've stayed in a lot of hotels that claim to be haunted on Route 66, with the exception of one. I've never seen anything weird. I've never really felt anything weird. This feels weirder to me, and definitely gives me a lot of respect and appreciation for the guys who were down in the mines getting all of our materials, including, of course, uranium. Because where the heck would we be without that? Oh, finally. Oh, dude, I must have broke the button. Terry is still going in here. He just likes to talk. He likes to teach and explain. That's pretty fun, dude. It's exactly the way I remembered it. Well, except for, no, don't leave me in the mine, please. Oh, for God's sake. I did not remember that being so creepy. All right, S for surface, and up we go. I don't know why, man. That creeped me out this time. Oh, sweet relief. Oh, thank heaven. I love being indoors in the air conditioning, but I think the older I get, the more I'm an outside cat, that's for sure. That was awesome, dude. Grants, New Mexico, a little bit of Route 66 history and a little bit of uranium mine mystery right under our feet, right by City Hall. I like New Mexico, man. Northwestern New Mexico just has a certain kind of magic about it. Although at this point, I've been gone from home for a month and a half, and I am ready to see my own bed. All right, back to Route 66, hang a right. It's time to keep on cruising westbound towards Los Angeles. All right, rather than hopping on the interstate, I'm gonna keep cruising down old Route 66 because Grants has sort of a sister city on this road up here in Milan. And although I don't remember much being there, we might as well see what's going on in Milan, because for the 100th anniversary of Route 66, there have been a lot of new and interesting things stuck into the most unlikely places, right? I'll be in the middle of nowhere in some farms, and all of a sudden I'll see a big Route 66 photo op or something. So you never know. Never hurts to check. Well, not too much looks new. Still the same sort of weather-worn and patina town that I remember, but I don't remember seeing this whole filling station all painted up. It says Village Route 66. I don't think it's open. I don't think there's any kind of open business in here. It looks more like a fancy photo op, unless it's something that they're working on opening up in the future, which is entirely possible, because this all looks brand new. And look at these amazing old, new old Route 66 pumps right here. I love that kind of black and white style. Very calm out here today, and not much happening, but even though it was just a museum, I just feel blessed to be above the ground, which I guess is actually something we should all be grateful for every day. Definitely a place that's proud of its Route 66 heritage, and it's got 100 years of history in repurposing old motor courts that you could stay in, like this one. It used to be all log cabin themed. Now it's a dispensary for herbal remedies. Lots of old gas stations and the shells of old restaurants, and hiding in plain sight right next to the Dollar General, a true relic of the past. And this one is so bizarre because literally the construction of the Dollar General meant that they cut the old building in half, and yet for some reason left one half remaining. This is what's left of the House of Cobras. Started out in the mid-1940s as the Lost Canyon Trading Post, and then the owner, Herman Atkinson, decided that he needed something else to pull travelers off the highway. So he got a couple of boa constrictors and a couple of other snakes and started calling the snake exhibit the Den of Death, and then rebranded the whole place as the House of Cobras, or some people call it the Cobra Gardens. He actually exhibited some cobras in here that had killed other people before they got here. But eventually he moved on to a less risky career. This place became, I think, the Cactus Gardens or something like that. And look at this, you can still see some of the ghost painting out here. There's a cobra, danger, written down there. There's some snakes painted up yonder. I don't know if these are modern touch-ups or not. But you can certainly see some of the vintage painted bushes, foliage, as my friend Adam would have said, down there, and some of the palm trees painted on this end. Herpetarium, snake pits, rattlesnake exhibits. They were all the rage back in the day. I have no idea who owns this property now. There's clearly like a house sitting behind it, probably for the owner of the trading post back in the day. But yeah, it used to extend much farther to the east and was sort of cut in half by the building of the Dollar General right there. But yeah, you can see all kinds of palm trees over here on this side. I don't want to peer over someone's fence, but look at that. You can see a little bit of reptiles and snakes here from the road up on the side. Pretty cool that that still survives, and you would never know, man. You drive right by that. And even though it's cool seeing this patina, right, seeing the various layers of different trading post advertisements painted on the outside, they are flaking off, so it would be kind of cool for someone to find a photo of it in its heyday and then perfectly restore the exterior painting. That would be awesome. Actually, a lot of little trading posts like that were built along Route 66 that are still left abandoned out here in New Mexico. Not gonna go tracking them all down today because we have filmed many of them on our previous visits, but some of the most famous ones just picked up and moved next to the interstate when the interstate came along, and then became some of the more modern trading posts like the Ortega shops or the Bolin travel centers that still cater to cross-country travelers to this day. Man, I'd much rather have a snake pit than a Dollar General, but what do I know? After all, I feel like Route 66 travel is important, but then I'll be in an epic museum like that, and I'll be the only one in there all by myself. Hey, school's out, summer is here. Where are all the families traveling to see the uranium mines? Anyway, time for me to keep cruising because I am thinking about going all the way home tonight, and it's quite a haul. So I guess I don't have time to stop at every abandoned gas station. We gotta push on towards Gallup. Real quick though, before I decide whether or not to go down Old 66 or get back on the interstate, I gotta stop here at the Chaco Canyon Trading Company, where I was just admiring this sick car sitting out front. Look at that thing. If I were ever to own a Camaro, it would be those years, that's for sure. But yeah, I was just about to say, I went out to the real Chaco Canyon just a couple of years ago. Probably one of my favorite places I have ever been. It's right here in New Mexico. Had the most massive Native American, quote unquote, ruins you've ever seen, ancestral Puebloan buildings. I mean, it looks like cities, abandoned and left to time, built over 1,000 years ago out in the middle of a mysterious desert. Coolest place I've ever been. Really filled me with like wonder and awe and respect for the Native Americans in this region, the Pueblo peoples. And down here Paying homage to the architecture, you got the Kiva Cafe at the Chaco Canyon Travel Center with a Native American rug tiled into the ground, and breakfast and lunch burritos sold here on the daily. A little bit of a different vibe, but if I'm gonna get coffee from anywhere, it's gonna be from Chaco Canyon. Oh wow, the trading post inside is so extensive and so impressive. A lot of actual modern Native American crafts being sold right in here. Dude, $1.99 for a coffee the size of my freaking face. Awesome. I know most people like fancy coffee, they like matcha, they like lattes, espresso, whatever. I gotta say, I just love truck stop drip coffee. It's my favorite. It's the best coffee there is. Man, I want to drive off in that blue car. Look at that thing, it's sick. All right, I did eventually hop on the interstate, but just for a minute, I couldn't help but get off on old Route 66 and take a look at this old trading post you see here, now crumbling into the dust. I'm kind of glad to see it's protected now by some barbed wire, at least somewhat protected. You can see a little vandalism on the building. Speaking of Bolin, this is the original 1950s Bolin Old Crater Trading Post, built by Claude Bolin himself in 1954. And that name, Bolin, B-O-W-L-I-N, should be familiar to anyone who's traveled cross-country, especially through the Southwest on the interstate, because they have a number of modern travel centers, usually with a Dairy Queen inside. They now own the famous The Thing in Arizona, but Claude Bolin himself came out here, and I think there was an original trading post on this site here in Blue Water, New Mexico in the 1930s, and this was the much more modern, southwest-looking one built in the 50s, still standing out here. And actually, just down the road, about a mile or so, is the modern Bolin Blue Water gas station built for the interstate after this one was abandoned, but with the roof collapsing and a bit of the front wall kind of falling in and caving in, it just seems more important than ever to stop by and take a peek at the fading, crumbling remains of the old Crater Trading Post. I really wish that person hadn't put their Instagram right there on the corner of the building. That seems unfortunate. This is why we need more Route 66 travelers, so it would be economically viable. It's too bad it's not like economically feasible for Bolin or somebody else to come and restore this, at least the shell of it, right? The exterior, because it is awesome looking. And amazing to think that such a big modern travel center company had such humble roots sprouting right out of the roadside along old Route 66. And then just inches down the road, I couldn't help but stop at the old Rattlesnake Trading Post 2. This one, I believe, dates back to 1954 and was run by Leroy Atkinson, yes, related to Herman Atkinson, who opened the House of Cobras down the road. And this is probably where Herman got the idea from his older brother's trading post right here, the Rattlesnake Trading Post, to fill his place full of snakes. And as you can see, not only was it absolutely massive, and thankfully was never cut in half so we can get a sense of the scale of the operation, but here, fading in the sunlight, you can see some remnants of the snakes and palm trees and exotic scenes that would have adorned the front of the building. You could thankfully still make out the words Rattlesnake right up here on the front of the trading post, and amidst the other fading foliage and some more snakes on either side of the doors, you can still read the word cafe up there. So you could stop and get gas, check out the rattlesnakes, buy some Native American blankets and souvenirs, also have a nice meal out here. I can only imagine that if you were a child, right, like 8, 9, 10 years old, in the 1950s, traveling down Route 66 with your parents and stopping at a place like this would live in your memory forever. And in fact, my Nana, my grandma, and her brother and sister did that very thing, traveling Route 66 in the mid-1950s, when this place would have been brand new. Probably stopped right here along this roadside at one trading post or the other. My Uncle Bud swore to me that he stopped at this very place when he watched my first Route 66 series. He's since passed away, but I'm glad he got a kick out of kind of revisiting that mid-1950s trip down the old Mother Road. Anyway, speaking of the Mother Road, it's really time for me now to push on west. Got to get out of New Mexico today, and we'll probably push on all the way through Arizona tonight. But it always feels better to me to have to travel this portion of the road quickly, because of course I live in Southern California, so it's the easiest part for me to get back to. All right, well, I decided to take the old road as much as possible, but I did take it as fast as possible, and I finally landed here in Gallup, New Mexico, where unfortunately it looks like the old Arrowhead Lodge has finally completely bitten the dust, although next door, the Blue Spruce Motel, or Blue Spruce is hard to say. or Blue Spruce Lodge, as the old neon sign declares, is still standing out here, although I can never tell if it's open or not, right? It looks like a hotel you could stay at, but the chicken wire around all the rooms would declare otherwise. This whole little strip of motels and their neon signs has to be one of the coolest little strips on Route 66. I mean, look at the Blue Spruce Lodge sign. That has to be one of the best signs on Route 66. You have the arrowhead on one side, and then on the other, look at this, the original Lariat Lodge. I believe this one came before the one in Grants where I stayed last night. It's still standing out here, but it is all boarded up and fenced off. Gallup is a pretty, it's one of those towns that's a little rough around the edges, let's put it that way. For the last 27 years that I've been traveling up and down America's highways, in Gallup, New Mexico, at least, all these little lodges and motels were still open, if at very discounted rates. Now it seems that, quote unquote, progress has finally caught up with this town, and the old motels are about to be shadows of the past, which makes sense, honestly, because I basically grew up right behind the Disneyland Hotel, and when I was a kid, there were a bunch of little motor lodges like this in Anaheim, California, I mean, right next door to Disneyland, and because they had fallen on hard times, once they become those ultra discount places, right, you have people living in there in weekly and then monthly rates, kind of brings the neighborhood down, they become sources of crime, dens of iniquity, and most cities, when they force them to finally close down and they get torn out, you see the areas improve rather rapidly. Luckily, there's one crazy old motel on Route 66 in Gallup I don't think we're likely to lose anytime soon, and that's the historic El Rancho, one of those crazy, kooky, wild western pieces of history and pastiches of architecture where movie stars did actually grace its halls back in its heyday. It's still standing proudly out here, restored from an almost completely abandoned and neglected condition several decades ago, and I'm pleased to hear that it has more Route 66 travelers than ever here with the centennial year, the 100th anniversary of the road. I myself have stayed here a number of times, including right up there in sort of the honeymoon suite, which was pretty crazy, like a pretty lofty, pretty spacious apartment up there. And you can see this place was so popular at one point that they had to add a little motel wing to the side. This is also, I must tell you, in all my travels, the only hotel I ever stayed in where I heard my name called out 3 times in the middle of the night, and then saw a man reading a newspaper upstairs in the lobby at like 5 in the morning when I was leaving here to go to Chaco Canyon, actually. Turned a little corner, and then he disappeared. I can't tell you it was a ghost, right? I don't know much about the afterlife. I've never been there. But I saw a man in there, and then he was gone. So make of that what you will. I gotta pop into the El Rancho just for a minute. I don't get to stay tonight. I'd rather finally lay down my head in my own bed. But I'm already cooking up plans in my brain to return here for another stay at the El Rancho. After all, when you stay at the El Rancho, you're in good company. John Wayne has stayed here, Jimmy Stewart, Clark Gable, a myriad of Hollywood stars. There's a lot of movie memorabilia scattered around the lobby to that effect. A lot of historical relics, as a matter of fact, along with the custom-made furniture for the El Rancho. There's no other place quite like it on Route 66 or any place else. Absolutely gorgeous. A great place to stop for a couple of minutes. And by the way, this is the very chair where I saw that man and then I didn't. And I'm not the only witness, because my friend Julio was with me. See all the movie star signatures up here in the lobby. So many different celebrities have stayed here. Even YouTubers like Justin Scard. Although, not to throw them under the bus, the El Rancho never asked me for a picture to hang up on the wall. Well, maybe one day. I wasn't gonna come all the way upstairs in the lobby, except for, look at this. The balcony is actually open, facing out onto Route 66, and of all the times I've stayed here, I don't think I've ever seen the balcony door wide open for guests to just sit out here and admire the wonders of Gallup. Anyway, now that we have made it to Gallup, we are not far from the Arizona border, and that is where I should be heading as quickly as I possibly can. Dude, what the heck though? They've always had a couple of restaurants and lounges in here. But one of the restaurants has been completely replaced by a massive gift shop expansion. It's a whole bunch of Route 66 stuff in here, so I guess they're expecting a lot more travelers this year for the 100th anniversary. Wow, I sat in here with my friend Ken Stack one time eating chips and salsa. Never did I think there'd be a giant plush monkey in here. Oh, I guess that's a Bigfoot. Pardon my ignorance. He has an uncanny resemblance to my old bass player though. Dude, still the best salsa I ever had in my life was in this room. Just came to take a peek in the 49er bar down here because I love the old Western stained glass windows, which you can sort of see from the outside, but not in this much glorious color. Look at this dude. Uh-oh. The bad man's here. And you see, this is what always happens to me. Oh, I gotta push on quickly. And then I spend 45 minutes wandering around places like this. But I mean, could you help it? Look at this place. I don't know what it is other than, I guess, looking at all these abandoned trading posts and stuff all day. It's nice to see dining rooms and bars and gift shops that are actually open and thriving out here on old Route 66. But I did eventually make it back outside and even into the car and back onto old Route 66 between downtown Gallup and the railroad tracks. Like I said, Gallup's a little rough around the edges, but it certainly is a romantic looking town. Certainly is an authentic old Western town. And for the Route 66 traveler and fans of roadside kitsch, it may be lesser known, but it also has its own roadside giant. Look at the size of that cowboy. If you go back into my Route 66 playlists on this channel, you'll find older episodes where we've done a lot of then and now with old photos of motels, because this place has a plethora, a myriad, an absolute treasure trove of old half-abandoned motels and cafes and drive-ins and diners spanning the entire 100-year history of Route 66 here. If you like old forlorn motels and highway towns, Gallup just might be the capital. Dude, and with this many old roadside businesses, I mean, there's like hundreds of motels, gas stations, cafes. This place must have been booming back in the heyday before the interstate. Speaking of the interstate, I better hop on quickly. It's time for me to leave New Mexico and go back to Arizona. And for me in particular, there's only one place I like to mark that transition. Oh, it's good to be back. The one, the only, Chief Yellowhorse Trading Post. It's got a storied and great history as long as Route 66 itself, with all kinds of colorful characters. But of course, the Chief Juan Yellowhorse himself founded this place back in the day, and his various children have opened other trading posts along this little stretch of Route 66 along the Arizona border here in Lupton, Arizona. But the actual state line itself technically goes right through the original Chief Yellowhorse Trading Post, where our friend Scott Yellowhorse is usually manning the counter. I'm stoked that the gate is actually open. And although the old fort may have seen better days, and there are no longer any buffalo to see here in the cave or old fake Indian ruins like there used to be back in the heyday, you can still come into the shop, stand right on the state line, and mark your transition from New Mexico into Arizona, or vice versa if you're going upstream the other way towards Chicago. Okay. Hey, long time no see, man. I was hoping you were here. The gate was closed last time I came through. See, look, I got to cross the state line in the official spot. It's still there, my little COVID sign. my little yeah, that's when I left it on the gate when you had to be closed down way back in the day. I left it in a bag on the gate. It's still there. Yes. I always try and get people to stop here because you never know what you're gonna find inside the Chief, Scott. You never know what's in here. Look at all these insulators. You got a freaking saddle in here. There's always stuff. See, that's a sight for sore eyes. I love it. The old ruins. You just got to get a buffalo again. Then people will stop. I'm going to find you a buffalo somewhere, Scott.
We'll get a pet buffalo.
Yeah, you always have stray cats and stray dogs, so you just need one buffalo out here. Just catching up on old times with Scott here. Check it out, he's got some nifty treasures in here. A couple Route 66 books, the Arabian Nights. There's seriously some sweet stuff hiding in here. And check this out. Look at this. On VHS, Lou Diamond Phillips and Lori Petty in Route 666. Also, look at all these freaking signed DVDs in here. That is awesome. I didn't know you did that. That's freaking sick. Yeah, Scott makes jewelry out here. You can get some custom jewelry. Although you're going to pay handsomely for the skill. Whoa. So that's all.
That's all.
Anasazi stuff, right?
Pottery.
That's amazing.
I'm showcasing their art with my art.
That's amazing. I've never seen such a good use of the potsherds.
That's it.
Did you find all these here when they dug that ditch?
Right here.
Dang, that's cool. Yeah, Scott's found all kinds of ancestral Puebloan pottery down here. He's Navajo, so he's allowed to use the word Anasazi, I guess. I've always loved that he's got a little tribute there to his father, who was the founder of the feast, and the whole family's got a bunch of different businesses in town, but this is the only original one, the original Chief Yellowhorse, right on the state line, literally in the building. Dude, and there are so many relics in here from the Wild West days out in Lupton, Arizona, and the classic Route 66 days. This place used to have wild buffalo until until state officials started kind of trying to interfere all the time. But look at this, hand-carved flutes and just all kinds of stuff. Oh, he's telling him about how his grandpa used to pick up the petrified wood, sell it to the Harvey House customers, the people coming through on the railroad. Their family's got a very proud history in this area. He mostly makes his living by artwork, by making custom jewelry. You saw the skulls there. But between you and me and the wall, Scott is also a very talented musician. That's why you'll see the instruments scattered around throughout the premises. And if you come outside, someone was just asking, how much is your petrified wood? He goes, not much. You can see the old petrified wood. You can see some of the fake Pueblo Indian ruins, quote unquote, that were placed out here way back in the 1940s and 50s. And they had to trench this to put in a pipe. That's where he found all that ancient pottery. So ancient Native Americans did actually live right here on this property. You could come and drop a coin in the Navajo wishing well, all built, by the way, out of petrified wood. Pretty freaking awesome, man. Say hello to the yellow dinosaur for me, and look at where the buffalo used to roam back here. They used to have live buffalo. Gotta stop in here and encourage Scott. Get a buffalo, man. Gotta get that buffalo going again. I was just stoked that he was here. The gates open, the doors open. Definitely make time to see the chief. He was only gonna come back out here and test running his dad's old business for 10 years. He's been here for 11 now. Hopefully we keep Scott for a long time. Dude, if you come in here, ask to see the old pictures in the display case of back in the day. You can see some of the old vintage souvenirs as well. Freaking awesome.
Call me and let me say, hey, where you at? What's
all right,
going on?
look at this.
Number?
No, I'll get it before I leave. Scott gave me that little copper ring. You can buy you made that, right?
Yeah, I did.
So you can buy handmade copper rings right there. Right there. So these are wagon wheels. What's in the middle of it?
It's phone cord.
That's so freaking cool. I love that you're always making like the most random cool. Oh, I didn't even see this guy. This guy used to work here, but he's retired now. He's retired. All right, we had a vintage truck convoy pull up to see the chief. That's the old slogan for the Chief Yellowhorse Trading Post. Pretty awesome freaking trucks over there. I wish someday I hope to travel Route 66 in a vehicle that kind of stands out, right? I mean, not that the RAV4 hybrid is too bad other than my broken windshield. It would be cool to do it in a classic one day. I love getting some potsherds right here. These are actual shards of ancient pottery Scott found on this property. He made these ones into a couple little magnets. I'm gonna stick those on the fridge, and then he wouldn't take no for an answer. Gave me one of the handmade copper rings that he makes out here. He goes, no, you gotta get it on the middle finger in case you need to show it off. And by the way, he really likes the Randomland audience because a bunch of you have come out here when you're traveling between Arizona and New Mexico. It's right on the old border. Come take your picture inside with Scott. So he says howdy to the Randomland audience. He loves you guys, so make sure you come out here and visit my friend, Scott Yellowhorse. Honestly, this much ground and this much stuff could be like 4 or 5 different episodes on here. And I know that's what most people do, and people are always complaining to me, the Randomland episodes are too long. I've heard that criticism for years and years, and I am listening. I'm always thinking about making them a little shorter if I can, or at least finding someone to chop them up into shorter pieces, maybe upload them to the old Live Fast I Pour channel, something like that. But I gotta tell you, out here on the road, like, I know I could have ended this 15 different times and made 15 different videos today instead of just one long, crazy Megazord video. And I always feel like if someone's gonna watch a Randomland adventure, I want them to have the most bang for their buck, right? I wanna cram as much as I can in, and that's certainly happening today. There's this little behind the scenes, little window into my behind the scenes mentality for you. A lot of thoughts about, different things to do in the future, different modifications I can make, which I've been discussing with people in the Adventurers Club over on our Patreon. Shout out to them, because they're the ones that really keep me on the road. But that's just it. I just want to pack in as much adventure as possible. You can see right here, driving through town, the whole town is packed full of Yellowhorse relatives and their small businesses. All of them are worth your time. I've always loved this spot here because up on the cliffs above some of the natural arches, various yellow horses have put all these giant plastic animals up there. Some of them have blown over the years, but there's still a few up there to check out. There were old murals, hand-painted murals up there on the cliff faces. They could use some restoration. Some of these have seen better days and closed up. Scott and I were talking about how people just don't do it anymore, man. The heyday of the American road trip is just over, but you know what? This is what I always think to myself. We can change that, right? We can take our kids out here and encourage them to take their kids out here and have a real adventure. Nobody likes theme parks more than me. I was out there filming a show at theme parks when it was definitely not cool, and everyone's like, what kind of freaking loser are you? A grown-up going to Disneyland all the time? And I'm always trying to strongly encourage friends of mine that they take the family to maybe Disney World every year or something like that over and over again. Break away, because for the same amount of money as staying in those resorts and doing whatever, you could take your family across country, meet people like Scott, meet the most random, cool new strangers, see American small towns, small businesses, have the best cheeseburger you've ever had in your life you can't get anywhere else. All those crazy roadside experiences that our grandparents had are still out here for the taking. Just gotta be brave and bold enough to drag the kiddos away from the screens for a little while. Well, I guess you could bring the iPad with you. Bring them out here to see America. I promise you it is worth it. Maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea, but in general, I promise you it's worth it. Okay, I'm not wrapping up here or anything. Sorry for preaching a sermon, but like most of my Navajo friends out here, I love America. I love this country. I love the small town America. I love getting out here in the Southwest. If I'm passionate about anything and I'm gonna preach a sermon about anything, it would be get out on the American roadside, man. See America first. It's beautiful. Also, I gotta say, I mean, not that I have much money or anything, but spending $100 out there with Scott or another small business owner feels a lot better than spending my money with any big company, and I know it goes a lot farther with a place like that. Just having made so many friends that have little small mom and pop places out here or family legacy businesses like that, your $100 or whatever you spend, $50, $20 in the little gift shop goes so much farther than it ever goes at like the gift shop of a big company or a big theme park. Not that I don't buy stuff out there too, but I gotta tell you, even me, you know, right? Technically, like my little merch store and stuff like that, it's a small business. It would take me, I don't know, a couple hundred bottles of hot sauce to replace this windshield right there, for example. So every single little order I appreciate so much, and that's taught me really that no matter what the treasure is, no matter how small, get something from the mom and pop place, a sticker, and anything you can. Just try and give them a little, show them a little love, show them a little support. It makes a big difference. It's like, not that there's anything wrong with Walmart or Dollar General or whatever, but we don't want the whole country to just be nothing but Walmarts and Dollar Generals, right? We need little places, little mom and pop places. Okay, we're officially in Arizona now. I'll see you in the next town. All right, another hour's drive and pulling up into Holbrook, Arizona. I have to say, one thing I love about this town is it's almost as petrified as the Petrified Forest National Park that surrounds it. Very rarely does anything new pop up, but also very rarely does anything old fully disappear, or at least maybe just at a slower rate than other Route 66 towns. But one thing that is, relatively speaking, pretty new in town is this old restored Richfield gas station that did not open, or reopen I should say, as a Richfield, but it has a hot dog place, Colonel Mustard's. And of course I have celiac disease, right? I can't eat anywhere where there's a sort of cross-contamination risk for me, because it's a pretty intense form. And although I myself cannot actually eat out here at Colonel Mustard's, because I have celiac disease and a pretty sensitive form of it, so I can't even risk cross-contamination in the kitchen or anything, I have to tell you, I see a lot of old cafes and mom and pop diners and places along Route 66 and in other small towns, and I have to tell you, this place smells so good and it looks so nice and so clean that if I was ever gonna break the rule, or you know, I had a day pass to eat gluten, I would certainly head straight towards Colonel Mustard in this town. And look at that beautiful Richfield sign right there. The gasoline of power. Also, it was the original official gasoline of Disneyland and the original sponsor of the Autopia, as well as a bunch of other stuff in Tomorrowland for you Disney fanatics out there. And technically it still exists. It is the R in Arco. So if you've ever had Arco gas, you've actually technically gotten some Richfield in your pump. Anyway, I just thought that was worth mentioning since we've mentioned pretty much everything else that exists in Holbrook at one time or another over the past couple of years. And alas, I would have spent one more night on Route 66 if there had been any availability at the Wigwam Motel tonight, but alas, there was no room at the inn, so I'm gonna keep moving along toward the setting sun. I do wanna get home tonight, which is about, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours away from here, practically speaking. And in between, I have to have a conference call with some of my Goonies friends about future events, let's put it that way, up in Astoria. There's at least one more stop I would like to make. I'm gonna get there right when they close though, so hopefully I can make it in just under the wire. And here it is, back at the most legendary sign on Route 66, right across the old Mother Road from the legendary Jackrabbit Trading Post. I was actually 1 minute late. I was 1 minute behind closing, but luckily Tony's truck was up sitting in front of the business still, and Cindy and Tony opened her up for me and turned the lights on for me to go inside. Okay, technically I did make it here too late, but I had something in the car with me this entire time that I kept meaning to leave somewhere, and I've decided to leave it here at the Jackrabbit. It's no good coming home with me. This miniature Giganticus Heticus has been with me ever since London and I were there over a month ago. And I am now gonna place it on the windowsill just above my hand-painted Route 66 sign that I left out here during the pandemic with Cindy and Tony. That's when I was trying to learn how to use my own tools. I just had to come in, say hello, give some hugs. Then of course they turned on the lights for me. I told them, you don't have to do that. But they did it anyway. I just missed the big car show out here, which I was bummed out about. But that's okay, at least I got to say hi.
Our kids' teeth are dog's teeth.
Oh my God, well, your mom, Cindy, made this?
Yeah.
And then your teeth are in there? Wow, talk about a...
It's my dad, but there's dog teeth in there. There's all kinds of animals and all this.
I don't think I ever noticed this one before.
Yeah.
Gotta talk about a family heirloom.
Gosh, back in 1980.
So literally you got the whole family's blood, sweat, and tears in this place. That is so cool. I love it. I like this too.
Well, you know, everybody says, who is that? Is that you? No, that's not me.
Yeah.
No.
No, you look a little thinner now, Tony.
I know, right?
You look a little thinner and a little buffer now.
Right?
You got the silver fox thing going on. Those are two of the sweetest, nicest people ever. And that's the thing, the Route 66 mom and pop businesses, and it doesn't get much more mom and pop than the Jackrabbit Trading Post. These are the type of people that make Route 66 a thing, that welcome travelers, that make you feel like you're at home out here in the middle of nowhere. Not that the Jackrabbit's nowhere. This is a very important place on Route 66, but you know what I mean, as a figure of speech. And I'm loving how cleaned up everything looks because they just had their giant car show out here, the first of hopefully many car shows. And look at old Mr. Rabbit out here letting people climb on his back for generations. He actually inspired an Illinois version at Rich Henry's Rabbit Ranch. Rich Henry sadly passed away. His property is now up for sale. And this is my appeal, this is my pitch, right, to whoever owns the property. Unless you're gonna keep running it as Rich Henry's Rabbit Ranch, like if somebody just bought it for the land or the house or something like that and not to run as a Route 66 business, my pitch is that we get that rabbit and bring it here to the Jackrabbit Trading Post. Because Rich Henry always said that this rabbit out here inspired his, that he called Cindy and Tony to ask for their blessing to have his own giant fiberglass rabbit. I think the two rabbits belong together, don't you? Mr. Rabbit could use a companion. I know a bunch of people will be like, no, it's gotta stay in Illinois, it belongs in Illinois. But then at the same time, Illinois has got a lot of giants, right? We need a couple more giants here in Arizona, especially out here near Holbrook and Joseph City. Joseph City? I see, I can't talk anymore. I'm getting tired. I've been away from home for like 6 or 7 weeks, something like that. Who's counting, right? Not me. And while I love it out here, and I'd love to remain out here for another 6 weeks, I gotta barrel on home, man. I've gotta get home tonight, so I've gotta clean out the car, wash all my dirty underwear, grab my wife, and then immediately leave home again and drive her up to her sister's wedding in Northern California. So I still don't get any rest, but at least I'll get 24 hours at home. I'll get some gluten-free pasta and meatballs in me, and I'll get to spend time with my beautiful wife and try to rest and recuperate enough and pay my taxes and do all the other kind of things that I'm kind of backwards on to get back out on the American highway as soon as practically possible. And if you would like to help me to get back out on the road, if you've enjoyed this or any of the other Randomland adventures out here in the wide west or on Route 66 or the Redwood Highway or anywhere else that we have roamed, and you would like to help me to continue to make more episodes, showcase more mom and pop places, get me back out on the road faster and keep me out on the road longer, then please consider joining our Patreon. That's the best way to get me out here and to keep me out here. Honestly, it's been a long month and a half, and I am the most grateful for all of you that have been watching along with me, all of you that have saved them up and are binge watching them now, and especially those of you who watch them all the way to the very end. You're a very special breed, you all the way to the very end club, you. I appreciate you guys sharing these videos, giving them a thumbs up, sharing them mostly with friends that you think would enjoy them. That is the best thing of all. The best thing, it really warms my heart, it brings new people on board in a kind of homegrown, one at a time fashion that we love out here at Randomland and at the Jackrabbit Trading Post. I think I identify with these mom and pop business owners because we got a kind of a mom and pop kind of show going on right here. We don't have any Nike sponsorships or anything like that. You notice I don't do any ad reads during these adventures. I'm not an influencer because I'm not trying to influence anybody to do anything other than live their life, enjoy life to the fullest, travel, see more of the world, spread positivity, support your little mom and pop, love America while we have it. Thank you for coming along with me, being kindred spirits. By the way, if you want a kindred spirit hat or the best hot sauce in the world, which you can buy at the Jackrabbit Trading Post as well as Meadow Gold Mac in Tulsa on Route 66. But if you want it straight from the source, you can get my hot sauce at randomland.com, as well as the Kindred Spirit R for Adventure hats. My signed book is available there. We got card magnets and some other stuff that's coming down the pike soon. Oh, is that enough commercials? Hey man, I gotta pay the rent too, you know. It's part of the deal. Seriously, I am going home now. And so I guess this is the end. This is the end of this leg of this particular Route 66 series, a little cross-country adventure that we've had. Boy, what a time we've had. I'd like to get back out on the road sooner. Like I said, that's gonna all depend on kind of finances. I don't know what this trip costs, but it's probably not great. And yet I think spending a month and a half on the road was probably cheaper than what most families of four spend to go to Disney World for a week or two. So if you're considering doing something a little different on your next vacation, I highly recommend a Route 66 trip. Tell everybody that Justin Scard sent you. Say goodbye to Cindy and Tony over there. Because we've all done our duty, and it's finally time for me to go home and sleep well. Oh, dude, look how nice this place is. Nice and homey right here. A little southwestern charm. Check out the freaking mid-century hotel furniture and a little coffee maker. I like that. Ooh, some weird art right there. I hope they don't get me. I don't know how to explain. It's rustic looking a little bit. It also has a whole bunch of charm. Look how the bathroom is all refreshed. Little shower back there. A microwave and a fridge, which is all I really need. And even a record player. There's a record player in here. Dude, I love it. It's a little rough, but it's ready. You know, it's clean. It smells nice, which is the most important thing about any motel. If it smells nice, dude, you know, then you're good. The owners were super friendly. They had tons of recommendations here and everything. They're ready to walk you in the room and show you everything. And I can't think of what to say anymore because I'm so freaking tired. I need to lay down and go to bed right now.